Alrighty, and we're back, and now we're going to talk about the last game of the Rainfall trilogy, and that is Pandora's Tower. Now, I only played an hour of it, so Arrow, over to you.
Well, that's definitely a short introduction. I've heard you talk about Pandora's Tower. Pandora's Tower, of course, the final Operation Rainfall trilogy game, was released in April 2012, so last month. Of course, pre-ordered the game, and one thing that I did not do with this game is I did not look at any gameplay whatsoever. Just completely neglected this, and with being a little bit disappointed by the last story, I was kind of hoping for Pandora's Tower being, perhaps more enjoyable experience than, say, the last story, or perhaps even better than Xenoblade. So I pre-ordered it, and put in my copy of the game and was excited to give it a go. And yeah, how can I describe this best? Yeah, it's really hard to explain this game because I feel honestly that this game has been mismarketed as an action RPG. This game is by far not a action RPG. If you want to turn this whole discussion into whether Zelda or not is an action RPG, Pandora's Tower is completely not an action RPG. This is more a action adventure game in the sense that it's more similar to God of War and Castlevania, the 3D games, and Devil May Cry than that this game is ever getting near an RPG. It has some RPG elements into this, where you collect different items and loot, and you kind of give these items to your. Let me give you the premise of the story. Basically, the premise of the story is there you have our main guy who has once again been, I believe, renamed in Japanese. I believe his name in English is Aaron. Is this the same for Japan or not, Taylor?
No, his name is Ende.
Oh yeah. That's yeah.
That's more original. Ende. Is there many characters named that? No. What's
I
wrong
have never
with that?
heard anyone called Ende before. And the same goes for the girl. You have a girlfriend called Elena, and she is.
That's not the same either.
Here we go.
So Celeste, basically.
I'm sorry. There's only one Elena, and she's an open Folgana.
Yeah. Perhaps they wanted to, Final Fantasy VI and Celes, they wanted to get rid of the name, but yeah, it's strange, but I understand. These names were marketed a little bit more towards European names, Western names, but so we have Aaron and we have Elena, and they're basically on the run from this empire. We're trying to hunt them down, and that's basically because Elena has this curse on her. She has this beast curse, where if it doesn't get treated, she will turn into one of the very dark and evil beasts, of epic lore. And basically, what has happened? You have this hub area where Aaron has to go into one of the 13 towers and have to fight the end boss or the final boss of each tower, and basically get the flesh, the master flesh of each boss, and then basically bring it back to Elena and feed her this master flesh so she can get rid of the curse. Another character in this game is definitely my favorite character of this game. That's called Mafda. Once again, no idea how she's called in the Japanese version. She's the merchant.
She Guraya.
Okay, so they changed that one as well, and she's this. Yeah. It's probably, and also my favorite part of Pandora's Tower is her character. She's this old type of witch merchant type of character, but she carries this insane type of skeleton on her back, and and the best thing about her is this game is once again in complete English. There's no Japanese voice acting, but her voice acting was really well done. She has a very eerie, scary type of voice. And I kind of really enjoyed her character the most, and she kind of advises you throughout the game on where you need to go, and she sells you items, and you buy weapons and abilities from her and stuff. And so that's basically the hub area, and you go through each of the 13 towers. And where this game, in my opinion, completely falls flat on its face, is the fact that you have to go through each tower. Each tower basically ranged between 45 minutes to an hour and a half. It's just your typical action platformer. You gotta solve puzzles. You gotta work up higher. Each tower has its own locale. You have to fire, you have to water, you have to ice dungeon, stuff like that. And it's so bland and repetitive. And the only thing that keeps you going is you want to figure out what the story is. You want to feed Elena more flesh. You want to save her. You want to see the story come to a close. And that's honestly the only reason why I stuck in there. The game is honestly pretty short. It's the shortest of the entire Operation Rainfall. It took me about 16, 17 hours to beat this game, and I finished all the towers. You are even able to finish this game even shorter if you get one of the worst endings. I got pretty much one of the better endings, but the gameplay, it's just really boring. And while it offers some unique type of Wii type of controls, is basically Aaron uses these chains to fight with, and you can hook on enemies, and you have to hook on certain parts of the bosses and stuff. But this type of genre is not my preferred style. While I really enjoy some action adventure games, especially Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2 on the Xbox 360, and there are quite a few more like No More Heroes and Mad World on the Wii as well. But this one felt so bland and so repetitive. It kind of, I just stuck in there, and I was doing two things at the time. I was playing the game, and while I was watching TV and sports matches and stuff. And once I finished it, that was it. It's by far my weakest in the Operation Rainfall trilogy, and I felt really disappointed by it. And yeah, if you're a big fan of this type of genre, I know there are a lot of people who are really big into the action adventure, and you will definitely enjoy this game. But don't go into this game expecting it's Xenoblade or it's The Last Story, which have a whole different type of theme going on. But I've kind of been rambling on the entire game, and that's pretty much my review or just my thoughts on the game for a couple of minutes. But let's see, Taylor, I believe you've played the game for quite a while as well. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, first, I wanted to say that it's Gurayai. That's her name. It's not Guraya, it's Gurayai. So it's a goofy name. So, but yeah, like, I remember somebody, I wish I could remember, I'm sorry, and if you do know who you are, which I hope you do, please tell me and internet slap me in the face or something. But somebody had sent me a link for it. I want to say it was Kuroi or somebody had sent me a link saying, hey, there's this new game coming out for the Wii in like a month that got like no attention whatsoever, and it just had kind of this like flash advertisement where it was you go to the site and there's just there's the picture of Celeste or Elena, and she's just kind of sitting there, and you're like, what the hell is this? Oh, Pandora's Tower. Okay, all right, cool.
the mysterious advertising technique, it kind of gripped me too. It's like, damn you, Nintendo, for gripping me without saying shit,
And I think that worked in its advantage because it got me to buy the game. Because if I would have seen gameplay footage for it, I probably might have steered clear of it. It's not to say, I'll get into it. Like, honestly, I think it has great imagery. Like, I think it's got a nice setting for it. I really like the visuals for it. And I do like the music. The boss music is pretty awesome, I think. I think it's pretty epic. I don't know. What do you think of the music?
Yeah, the music and visual style, those are some good parts of the game as well. Yeah, that's definitely true.
So, I kind of like how I would classify the game is an action adventure dungeon crawling simulator. Dating simulator. Because
Yes.
because you're going into the tower, you're getting some meat, and you get giving it to her, but you're also trying to give her good stuff so she will make whoopee with you or something.
Says I love you, then a bunch of dripping demon meat.
Yeah, exactly. So, and you're trying to collect funds so you can buy her shiny gifts so she'll love you more and stuff. Say the right answer to the questions she's asking and stuff, and you're just like, I don't mind it. It's weird because it's when you come back to the house, because you're at a house and you like jump on these giant chain links to run down to the tower, and then you go into one of the towers by selecting on the menu. In the house, you can you'll find her doing random things. She'll be like washing dishes, or she'll just be sitting there, or she'll be writing in a journal and stuff. And I think you can read her journal too, which is really fucked up.
Yes.
Trust issues.
Yeah, you could read her journal if you feel that she's cheating on you or something or whatever. But like, and it's I don't mind it, but I will say this: I like the thing that made me stop playing the game is that it made me so. The game is heartbreaking to me. It's heart-wrenching when you get back and this dude is doing all this stuff. He's trying to like help this woman that he loves and stuff. And you get back and she is deformed and like turning into this monster. And she is like completely just like on her last little inches of life because it's timed. The more time you take without feeding her, the worse her condition gets. And so there's times where you'll have to go into the dungeon and then come back out because you have to give her some meat that you find from either the boss or from one of the smaller enemies. And you'll get back and she's completely like turned into this monster thing, and you're just like, that's so heart-wrenching. It's just so it tears you up. At least it tore me up. I was just like, it was hard to deal with. So that kind of got me to stop. So
that's really interesting. I have to be honest, I didn't really run into anything like that all the way up until the end part of the game. I was just going into a dungeon and then just clearing it as soon as possible and then just returning it. I know you can go to multiple dungeons at once, I believe, but I just she was just happy standing there. Oh, there's another meat, and here you go. Eat your meat and shut the fuck up.
Get back to doing the dishes.
It's like you feed her the meat, and then you see a cutscene, like kind of a flashback of what happened in the past, and
right.
That kind of turns into the overarching story, as you would call it. But only at the end part, where I was kind of feeding her the meat, she kind of got deformed. I never ran into it. Perhaps, perhaps I was playing too fast, but.
I was taking too long because there would be times on the timer where there would be very little time left, and so she is she's not doing good. And it's just I don't know. To me, it's just really heart-wrenching because it's just I don't know. I liked how it did that as a story, how it's presented. It's just, to me, it was just like, that is really it kind of gives it the main character Ende, or what's his name in English? Aaron. Okay. Aaron. It gives him that. It makes that character feel like he does truly love her.
Yeah.
So it that's nice, but it was really kind of painful, especially with the eating the meat bit. If you are a little queasy, you might feel a little queasy. I don't know why she doesn't cook it, but or saute that something, make some meat patties and put it as a hamburger.
Oh yeah, I have to be honest. That sound effect that they use when she crunches into the meat, that's pretty horrible.
Yeah, it is. If you like the queasy stuff, you'll like that cutscene. So yeah.
You see that 13 times in the game where you just she takes the meat in her hands and it's like the crunchy, squishy sounds like. God, horrible.
Just chows right into it. You're just like, damn, bitch. Not even a fork or a napkin or anything. Just palms
demon delicacy.
She just
But-
palms that meat and chomps down. So
But yeah, this game is it's marketed as a more dark than say Xenoblade in the last story. But I have to be honest, one of my favorite franchises is Shin Megami Tensei, and that's a
Oh.
damn dark series. And this game has got nothing on SMT.
No.
It is pretty dark, with the Master Flash and everything, but it's just not compared to Shin Megami Tensei. If you want to play a very dark and distressing type of RPG series, then play those games, and especially play Digital Devil Saga, which also deals with themes like cannibalism and stuff. So that was way more gruesome than say Pandora's Tower.
Yep.
But yeah, it's all these different systems. You have the core gameplay. Beating the towers and giving her gifts. What I think would have really changed up this game if there were less dungeons and just more puzzles overall, but also more characters to interact with. Because Aaron is going into a tower and there's just only enemies. It's pretty much only enemies. You don't talk over some communicator or some telepathic link to Elena or Mafta. It's just Aaron fighting enemies, solving puzzles, and there's just no banter like there is, in Xenoblade in the last story, which is disappointing. And there are no other characters to kind of, tie it into a whole experience. And even in dungeon crawlers, that's at least the ones that I played, it's a lot of fun, to meet, NPCs that are just in those towers, trying to survive as well. And that is another big part that I was missing in Pandora's Tower. I don't know, how do you feel about that, Taylor?
yeah, I've talked to Greg about this on numerous occasions, and I always was rhetorically asking him, why the hell is this game getting coupled with Xenoblade and the last story? I didn't understand it. Other than getting it over here, like I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels like false advertisement to me because they're coupling it with it, and it almost feels like the people behind Operation Rainfall. There's just that one dude that wanted that game, and they're like, "Come on, please, guys, just put it in with it, please, please."
I still think that people watched your stream and formed Operation Rainfall. That's my theory.
I don't know about that, but I as much as I kind of rag on the game a little bit, I don't hate it as much as I think I do, which I don't know if that makes any sense at all. So, I bag on it, but I don't think I dislike it as much as I feel like if that makes any sense. So.
Yeah, it's I have to be honest, and if I were to have invested more, I don't think that I would have bought this game. It's not my preferred style of game. It is nice to have, to be able to say that I finished the entire Operation Rainfall trilogy and stuff like that. But, overall, this third game really feels like false advertisement. It's kind of my own fault of thinking, I'm going to completely, not watch anything on this game to kind of hope and, get myself be surprised. But I got surprised in a bad way. And I have to be honest, and I know that there are definitely a small niche group that look forward to this game, but on the other hand, I hope that this game doesn't get released in North America. I think a lot of people will get overhyped, and I don't think that's a good thing. This game really does not do RPGs justice, because this is not really an RPG. But yeah. Yeah, I think we talked about, but Greg, you're only an hour into the game. Does any of this sound appealing to you, and do you want to play the game?
It kind of does in a way. There is some questions I want to answer you.
Yes,
One
yes,
of my fuck. Well, that's it. No, I'm kidding. One of my favorite games on the GameCube is Metroid Prime. there is no dialogue and there's no interaction with, well, not really per se. Is the game along those lines where the environment tells more of a story than words can? Or, no.
To an extent, but it's hard to really tell much when you're going into like towers. The towers are differently themed, but there's not they're not in such a way that it really feels like it's unique. It's like, oh, it's a little bit different. This is the fire one. Here's some lava or something, that kind of thing. So, because
Metroid is just one of those games that's weird. It tells a story through its environment, and where no words are spoken except for Fusion, where it kind of went wrong. But it's just I wanted to answer that. See, one of the things I want to touch upon is I read an interview with the company who made Pandora's Tower is called Ganbarion, and the only game they made prior to that is the One Piece Unlimited Cruises. And what's really funny is I've actually played one of them, and they're actually quite fun action-adventure games, but, no RPG aspect. No, it's kind of close to Zelda. It seems like Ganbarion is happy making these Zelda-esque action-adventure games. And I know I'm the biggest problem when it comes to promoting whether action-adventure games or this is an action RPG. Usually I'm the instigator in a lot of discussions and conflicts, but I'm not going to do that here. But for the most part, I kind of still interested in Pandora's Tower, just not in a rush to buy batteries for it, because, dear listeners, that's the reason why I'm not playing it, is I don't have any batteries right now. Today, I had a pair that was on its last life, and I used it to play a bit of Xenoblade. So, I just can't play it right now. And even if I did, I would go into it very sparingly. There's some parts of the game that sort of interest me, like... Okay, so one of the big things that Ganbarion wanted to basically pitch the idea to Nintendo is the relationship between Aaron and Elena, and of course the conflict that is within Elena, the fact that she's this innocent sort of human that has this very demonic, life-threatening curse, and you have someone like Aaron who will do anything for her and braves these 13 towers. It was the whole relationship aspect that actually got pitched to Nintendo and what ultimately greenlighted it. Now, they were kind of worried with the whole monster flesh-eating aspect, but they kind of went with it anyway. They thought, I'll just run with it. Very unlikely game to be produced by Nintendo, but I just wanted to ask you, does the relationship between the two sort of outweighs the random monster slaying of the 13 towers?
Well, it's different, because if I look at how Taylor played it, it's much more an emotional part, seeing her transform. But for me, it was more like, finish a dungeon, give her the meat, see a little bit of the backstory, give her some gifts, and she's talking to you. And eventually, later, midway of the game, I got some, interesting cutscenes, which were kind of short as well. But I got some touching cutscenes where she was talking about herself, and I think these were because I gave her some good items and stuff. I gave her some scarves and things like that. But it's not all that noticeable. It's not one of the best developed, relationships, and you don't see them spending a lot of time outside of the fighting. I really would have to say that it's pretty much a 90% to 10% ratio of gameplay, fighting, and 10% story. I might even go as far that you can get the whole story within an hour if you would just cut out all the gameplay, perhaps. But just have it as a, fun anime type of movie or something like that. But it's somehow, the story was okay, and towards the end it kind of picked off and it became kind of interesting. I have to be honest and say that it kind of got interesting, with the backstory kind of tying into our main protagonist's story. But it's not worth getting yourself crazy over these 13 repetitive towers. But keep in mind, this game, it only took me about 16-17 hours, so it is quite short. You know, it is shorter than, say, Castlevania Lords of Shadow.
Taylor, can you add anything to that?
Yeah, I played about. Played about 13 hours of it, and I was talking to Era a little bit about it, and I kind of got caught up at about the 9th tower or so. I believe that's what you said, right? Era
Yeah.
was the 9th tower, and
Yeah,
there's a
it's
reason why. And there's a reason why, and it needs to be brought up now. Your equipment will fucking break if you get hit sometimes. I don't know if you. If you were, do you remember this?
I forgot all about that. That's
It's probably a reason why you forgot about that.
That's annoying. Yeah, yeah. At some point, I just felt I pulled off some tricks, you know, with the change, and that became very repetitive because I felt I was doing the same thing over and over again to get good at the game, and to just be able to, you know, systematically destroy everything in my path. But yeah, at some points that was pretty annoying. I reloaded my save just 2 times, you know, just because I just figured I don't want to go back down and lose my time and stuff, so I just do the entire dungeon again. But that was kind of an annoying aspect indeed. Yeah, that's pretty annoying.
Would your armor break if you dropped from a high place? I thought it did.
Can't remember.
I could have swore it did, and I think that's what was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. Was that like that was I got so pissed off. It was just like, yeah, no, we're done with this for now, and it sat for a while. But I could be wrong. I could have gotten hit by something. But to answer the question, honestly, things I did play it a little bit different than kind of how Arrow approached it. I think that it depends on how much you invest into her. Kind of, you get what you get. Yeah, I mean, you get what you put in is what you get out. So if you only, you know, if you're like Arrow, come home from work, throw the meat on the table, say I'm taking a nap, sleep, and whatever, and then go back out, you know, and then just kind of let her rambling like, yeah, sure, honey, okay. Then yeah, it's not really gonna feel like that. Yeah, you could just buy the gifts and just like give them to her and stuff, and be like, okay. The thing is I think it kind of started when I gave her the meat the first time, is because I was really late. I was really like slow getting her the food or the meat, so she had transformed, and when she does, like the first time, she's in the cellar. And the cellar's this dark, kind of dusty, danky place, and she's in there and stuff, and so, like, I felt a bit bad because I let her get to that point, and so it felt like I was guilted into it, and I was just kind of like, oh shit, what have I done? So I guess if you don't invest emotionally into it at all, you can kind of, kind of like whatever, hop from it and stuff. But if you feel like a complete jackass like I did for letting it get that bad, then yeah, you might feel more inclined to do more things and whatnot. So yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. One last question. This is a big one. You know me. Is there any villains or antagonists in Pandora's Tower? I thought as much. Oh,
I have to be honest, and I'm not going to be telling this, of course, but later on, and seeing how Taylor stopped at Tower 9, things can get pretty hectic. And yeah, let's just say that if you want to get the full answer to that question, it might be nice to finish this game, because things tie in during the course of the game, and it can get pretty interesting later on. But there's no, human villain or antagonist for the entire game.
That's what I thought. That I kind of have an issue. I don't know why, but you know, I'm a villain junkie. I blame Luca Blight from Suikoden too. He kind of he set the bar like for eternity, and I don't think anyone's come close. There's been a few times, but you know, no one's ever beat him. But yeah, it's just one of the pivotal part of the RPGs is to have the one character that creates the conflict where you're just like, oh, I want to see you get your head cut off or whatever, you know, I want to see this happen to you, you know, because you're so emotionally invested into what that son of a bitch did, you know, to the world and the characters. And to hear that you know, something like that, you know, but if it's not a human being, at least if it's a presence, whether it be godlike or spiritual, you know.
It's very hard to explain because all that stuff gets answered at the last part of the game, but you know, you have to play like 10 to 11 towers before, you know, even hints on that are starting to drop. So you will be playing 80% of the game without any sense of, you know, thing of presence to put all that hatred in. It's just there is the curse, you know, we have to get the beast, Master Flash to save the curse, and pretty much the curse is the villain of this game.
Yeah, well, yeah, the main aspect that propels the need to... Yeah, I can understand that, so... Huh.
Yeah.
Alrighty then. There's actually something I want to touch upon used to, and you brought it up, and it's very interesting that the fact that this game was wrongfully advertised. Now, you can point the finger at a couple of people responsible for this. One of the reasons I believe Operation Rainfall was created was we fans that were desperate for games, different games of the RPG genre, you know, or a return to the good old days when Nintendo was in charge of having obscure, you know, fantastic RPGs like the Super Nintendo era. And I think it was out of desperation for that kind of era, that wanting of that type of game, when games like Xenoblade and The Last Story and Pandora's came into being, they jumped on it. Because there is a wide base of people that were not happy with the Wii in general. There was no games that catered to them. So when there was games finally catered to them, they band together, and I'm guessing Pandora's Tower looked like the sort of game that people wanted on the Wii, and that's probably why it got thrown in. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I've been researching this because, you know, Pandora's Tower is pretty disappointing, but you know, it's still that one experience that I think Nintendo could get their hands on. Now, I have to be honest and say that there is one game that would have saved the Wii way earlier in its life cycle if this game got localized. Sadly, we didn't see this one on the Wii. We had to wait a couple of years, and you had to be a PlayStation 3 owner for this to play. But I think that the Wii would have profited way more if they released Tales of Graces earlier on in the life cycle, because I am playing this game on the PlayStation 3 and I haven't finished it yet, but this game is so fucking awesome. It's by far my favorite Tales of game. I don't know how much, you know, it differs from, you know, the Wii. I know they added in the whole final arc of the game, but Tales of Graces, that game should have been ported on the Wii, and a lot more people wouldn't have, you know, had a lot of to complain, because what else did we have, you know, at least in North America, people got Arc-Rise Fantasia, which was pretty poorly received, so...
Yeah, well, actually, it got mixed reviews. The main issue was the voice acting, but then there was some parts of the game that people favored than others. It's a no-brainer that me and the good sir are gonna say Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn, because I can tell you this now, before Xenoblade, that was probably my most liked game on the system. Yes, it pulled out my hair in places I didn't think I had, but it was the most memorable game on the Wii at that time, and then ever since then, there was nothing. There was that Tales of Symphonia 2 game that was not well received.
I haven't played the first one yet, so I'm not going to start with the second game yet, so...
Yeah. I was going to say, with Graces on the Wii, I think the big reason why that did not make it outside of Japan was because from what I remember, I didn't purchase it. I waited until Grace's death. But from what I remember and what I recall, I got slammed here in Japan because it was glitchy as a mofo.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I heard. That's what I heard
Oh.
too.
Yeah, it was extremely glitchy, and people were pissed beyond anything because they were not thrilled. That's why it got Grace's F. That's why
I see.
that's why they had Grace's F. So
Okay. Yeah, I have to be honest. I didn't know about that part. You know, we have some other games on it. You know, we have it's not full games, but we have I think Final Fantasy Chocobo's Dungeon was really enjoyable, and Dragon Quest Swords was kind of fun as well.
Oh, it was okay. Yes, that game is short, but it's so much fun. I love light gun games. To have a light gun sword game, it was one of my dreams come true. And the fact it was a Dragon Quest game with tracks from Dragon Quest 8, I love that game. I love that little game so much. And
Yeah.
it's the reason why I say little, because it's 10 hours.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a very short game, but it's more fun than engrossing. And you know what's funny? The characters are really good in that game. You know, I mean, I wish there was more adventures with that group of characters in Dragon Quest Swords. I mean,
It's a very fun game. I played this one before Dragon Quest 8, which I finished last month, and that really got me sort of a view into what a evolution of Dragon Quest would be like, and I really enjoyed it. And of course, now that I've played Dragon Quest 8, I enjoyed that one. It's my favorite Dragon Quest game, but Swords was very high production quality, and I really enjoyed it with the gameplay as well.
Yeah, I love that little game. It makes me want to go play it right now because it's just so fun and accessible. But yeah, I mean, can you say Fragile Dreams is an RPG? Because yes and no.
I haven't played that one yet.
I have, and let me tell you this now. Some groups have labeled it an RPG, but it doesn't feel like one. It feels like Resident Evil. It feels like without the horrifying zombies, but in it's like the way you wield the flashlight and all this. But this is only like playing the first hour in the game, and I want to play more Fragile Dreams when I get it. I'm thinking about other RPGs that are on the system.
We're not
going to talk about Echoes of Time because that's just an abomination.
No, not that one. I was talking about good ones.
I thought we were just talking about because we're talking about games or RPGs on the Wii in general, good or bad.
Echoes of Time. Oh no, sorry, I have to play, but I rather play 150 hours of Pandora's Tower than ever go back to that abysmal piece of shit called Echoes of Time.
Yes, it's a Wii game? No, it's not. It's just a fucking DS game emulated by the Wii. Come on.
Yeah, it's horrible. Okay, we have to be honest. It is my least favorite Final Fantasy spin-off, but Crystal Bearers is my favorite Crystal Chronicles game. It had some nifty action Wii motion controls and a charming little story, but it doesn't compare to Chocobo's Dungeon and Dragon Quest Swords. Crystal Bearers is fun and short, but mediocre, middle grade, like Pandora's Tower. But I have to be honest, there is one fantastic RPG that I've only put in 2 hours, and it's nowhere endorsed or Operation Rainfall. I haven't finished it yet.
I think I know where you're going, and you're gonna have good sir gonna talk about it.
It's the final game of both my entire Wii collection that I've yet to finish, as well as the final game of this wonderful developer that I've yet to finish, and that is Muramasa the Demon Blade.
no.
Should you comment, or should we just listen to that episode of Power On, good sir?
Okay, a really quick synopsis on that. Sushi and I, we'll pick, like, I'll pick a game, he'll pick a game, or something like that. I picked Muramasa. Muramasa was like the first game I bought for my Wii when I moved back to Japan. And I put in like an hour or two when I first got it, and I didn't touch it for 2 years.
Oh, pretty similar here.
Yeah, and well, the thing is that I do not like it. it is not a game that's for me. It just does it for whatever reason it doesn't work for me. Personally, I actually think I like Pandora's Tower more than Muramasa. Just so hopefully you enjoy it a lot more than I did. I know Sushi really liked it. I know the few people who've commented on that episode that I just put up for it, they really liked it, and I know some others have commented elsewhere that are like, oh yeah, I love Muramasa. And I'm like, I guess I am on an island on this one. Because
have you played other Vanillaware games like Odin Sphere or not?
No, not really.
This is what I want to comment on is Vanillaware. Great looking games, but can I be honest? If I had to use the word acquired taste, it'd be for Vanillaware. I mean, those games are an insanely quiet taste. I mean, I don't see many people, because I remember playing Odin Sphere and I thought, oh, this game looks cool. And I gotta admit, I was enjoying it, but the battle system pissed me off after a while. It really pissed.
Yeah, that's true.
It really pissed me off. And then I went to Muramasa thinking, "Oh, is this going to be as hard?" It's not as hard. And I got to be honest, I don't know why I like to compare everything to the old Wonder Boy games. Where it's like, oh, it's side scrolling, with RPG type elements. Oh, it must be like Wonder Boy. Rah, no. But I kind of like my 2D side scrolling games, and I don't hate Muramasa, but I just haven't had the time to invest in it. The visuals look fantastic and it's actually fun to play, but the story actually, I don't know, it hasn't gripped me. It hasn't. And it's like, this is kind of, feudal Japan fantasy. I thought I'd love this, but it's like, yeah, kind of doing what you have done. I've put it down. I haven't been back since, but I don't hate it. So it's a weird feeling.
I've only played the tutorial, and I've finished a lot of Vanillaware games. I finished Princess Crown on the Saturn and Odin Sphere, which are, they have, quite different type of battle system, but I love, 2D side scrollers, brawlers, and I really enjoyed it. And, I've explicitly, did not play Muramasa, and I wanted to save it as my final game. It might end up being very disappointing, or I just might end up really, really enjoying it. Because that's more my type of my type of action RPG style, the 2D side-scrolling action.
And to be more depressing, don't want to bring it up for you, is that might be the last Vanillaware game in English. Depends.
No, that's not true. No, we are getting Dragon's Crown by Atlas. They are going to be publishing this in North America as well on PlayStation Vita and PlayStation 3 next year. But Grand Knight's History has been cancelled because they don't have resources for helping out with the localization. They're too busy with Dragon's Crown. They're a small company of 20 people. Perhaps after they finish Dragon's Crown, but Grand Knight's History, turn-based Vanillaware RPG is cancelled in English. Still have nightmares.
Oh, well. No, well, hopefully all goes well with Dragon's Dogma. Just pulling your chain before, but hopefully they'll come out. It's a good-looking game, except for the Amazon that has Thunder Fires. But no, this is an interesting point. I mean, dear listeners, we're going on a big tangent here, but localization it's a funny thing for the smaller companies. I mean, look at Falcom. Falcom was more willing. If you've noticed, people think, oh, XE took care of that. No, I'm bullshit. Falcom worked on that as well. That's why the localizations are so goddamn good, because they worked on it. And you have to... This is around the time of when Zero was released, and they're wondering, why did only Zero get released 1 year? Or oh, no, that was the same year as East vs. Sora no Kiseki, I think. Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
Yes, it was.
Why was Ao no Kiseki only 1 year? It's because some of their team was working with Xseed on translating the games. I would dare say mostly for Trails in the Sky. And now people are wondering, why don't we have more Falcom games in English? It's because Falcom is hard at work with not one, not two, but 3 games. Yes. One that requires nearly 80 odd hours of voice acting. That's crazy, so totally can understand that, if we don't get any Falcom games in English to 2013, I won't be surprised, but we are getting Falcom games via Steam, so, dear viewers, I must be an addict because I want to turn every episode of Rpgibberish into a Falcomathon, but...
No, I was just thinking, bringing up some alternatives to Operation Rainfall and Wii RPGs, there's not a lot out there, and a lot of people in North America are still waiting on the last story, and hopefully Pandora's Tower, and are still playing Xenoblade. But thought it would be good to give some alternatives to the lackluster Pandora's Tower. But the Wii is not known for the many JRPGs. I have to be honest; it's not one of the best examples for it.
And it's really sad being a crazy RPG fan. I always expect every system to provide an ample amount of RPGs, and it's kind of sad, But at the same time, very, very thankful to Tatsuya Takahashi and Hironobu Sakaguchi to bring us 2 wonderful RPGs for the system. It ultimately made it worth purchasing.
Yes.
As well as the Zelda games and Fire Emblem. But yeah, I'm of the same boat. I wish more people gave it a chance. And with the GameCube being very obscure, it had probably close to the same amount of RPGs that got released. It kind of shows Nintendo sort of favors RPGs towards the handhelds nowadays, which is just a common thing because for a game that has a higher production cost, why not put it on the more cost-effective gaming device? And of course, in this day and age, it's the handhelds. So, we're now entering the age where the games they're making are GameCube quality on the handheld. I've always joken about, wouldn't it be awesome to see a Xenoblade on a handheld? even Xenoblade Portable, that'd be crazy. Because that's not really a game that requires, a Wiimote, so that they could do it. But it's happened for a reason, and I love the game so much. I gotta say it again, dear listeners, go get Xenoblade if you haven't already got it.
Oh yeah, that's highly recommended. That's the point that we want to put across with this wonderful Operation Rainfall episode is talk about these 3 wonderful games that through very hard work got localized in English, and while some others are not as enjoyable as the at least my favorite in the trilogy, Xenoblade, I highly encourage everybody to go out and pick up these games, and especially Xenoblade Chronicles, because it's one of the best games on the Wii, and especially the best JRPG out there.
But yeah, our wonderful guest, have you got anything else to add?
I would kind of not necessarily mirror all of Arrow's remarks, but because I kind of personally like Last Story a little bit more, but that's just me being me.
No worries.
I mean, they're all like Sans Pandora's Tower. At least the other 2 are really, really good. Definitely, at least try Pandora's Tower. See if it's your kind of thing. That's really about it.
and for shameless plugging for a friend, if you're unsure which is the better 2, Xenoblade or The Last Story, go to Taylor's channel and watch the Xenoblade vs. The Last Story epic video, because I thought it was excellent.
Thank you. It's a long one too. It's like 30 minutes, and that took a lot of playing.
It was well worth it, because you do bring the games down to its finer points, and I wanted to play both, and I both enjoyed them, but you pretty much said what I've said and what I have not said, but yes, I'm rambling on right now. Woo! but yeah, we've wanted to do this episode for a long time. I was hoping we could produce this a bit earlier, so before Xenoblade comes out, so we can get people hyped for Xenoblade. Stuff happened, and it's like, well, we're glad to bring this out before The Last Story, and if possibly Pandora's Tower comes out, see what happens, And we will see if the final game for the Wii is going to be Dragon Quest X, although I highly doubt it. Maybe in Japan.
Yeah, that's definitely true. That's still on route. I don't think it will get a localization, at least not on the Wii. But
The Wii U, maybe.
yeah, Wii U maybe indeed. But there's one more thing. I heard some titles drop. But Taylor, since you live in Japan, have we missed out on any Wii RPG experience?
Honestly, I haven't really touched much on the Wii RPG realm because I when I came here, I kind of more so focused on a lot of like the older like Super Famicom RPGs, as opposed to some of the more newer ones. I mean, I do get the ones for the PSP heavy, it seems to be. So unfortunately, I can't really say other than, as Greg said, Fire Emblem, and that's always a great one. But
there is one we missed, and I just remembered it, and I think I know why I forgot it. Because it's not that good. Is Elder Saga, which is, I think, a part of the Valhalla Knight series, which is very bland. But I'm not going to say that. Just from what I've looked at the game, it's probably one of the most blandest looking games. But hey, I'm a big believer of try before you buy, so I'll probably play that before I say anything more.
All right, yeah. That's somewhere good to know that at least we have the biggest ones. It's not that we end up with a Mother 3 on our hands once again, because I don't ever want to get into that situation again. And we're getting there with Sora no Kiseki second chapter, but I have hopes.
If we get in English, it's a bonus. I'm 4 hours into. I'm 4 or 5 hours into it. So, oh dear. And you know what? I've promised, one of the crazy promised listeners is I want to play SC an hour a day, and hopefully by that time Xseed would have announced it. If not, then I would have beaten SC in Japanese. move on to the third, because that's the one series that has a hold on me, just like Mother had a hold on you, Arrow. I have to finish it, and because there's so many games that is out and they just all look epic one after another, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart, but
I can easily substitute so many games that are coming out, and I just want to play Sora no Kiseki second chapter in English. The wait is... I envy you, Taylor. That's something that must be said. I envy you so much for being able to understand it.
I say this to him on a daily basis. No, it's all good. I don't have any control, Arrow. I've watched the anime I've read some of the manga. Apparently, there's a side manga to one of the characters.
Yeah.
And
I have a couple manga I know of for Sora no Kiseki, because I have 3 of them. There's 3 of them. They also have books for the Zero no Kiseki. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
One thing I will have to do, because I'm actually kind of mad at myself I don't have it, is I'll have to buy the best version of Ys vs Sora no Kiseki, because it's just one of those games I keep thinking about constantly, and by the time I want to buy it, I don't have any money for it.
It's a fun 3D fighter. So if you liked E7. No surprise there. You definitely enjoyed this. I did. Which I
very much did. That's probably why I'm looking forward to Naruto, because I look at that and it's like, it resembles E7 except more high octane. Man, looking forward to that. And you know what? If I will definitely say this, listeners, I will have an episode prepared for that when I get it, And it'll be funny, because around that time, we're also getting Dream Drop's Distance, and I know someone here is desperately waiting for it. If you listen to our Kingdom Hearts episode.
Kingdom Hearts? At least I have the knowledge that Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, I know I'll have it in my hands in about 2 months or so. I can play it, all is fine and dandy, but second chapter.
Yeah, no. Come on, X. Come on, guys.
Craving SC, it gets better, I think.
I'm not the only one. There are so many people who love the first game.
Well, like SC, like first FC and SC you can couple together, and then the third kind of takes it to a different, what's the word I want to say? Different level, I guess. And it's still a continuation of it, but it takes it to a different level. And then I don't know. I really loved the Zeto and Aono Kiseki. Those two, holy crap! So.
Oh, dude, I always listen to Zero. You know, I've actually kind of surprised that I've been able to keep a hold off listening to any of Owl's soundtrack, but I'm obsessed with Zero no Kiseki's soundtrack. Like,
Nice.
flat out obsessed. Like, the different battle themes and the final boss theme. God damn it! It's just so good.
A Rival Existence is pretty sweet. It's a pretty badass song.
And Inevitable Struggle. It's just so good, you know? Nah, man, I think, you know, yeah. You know, but dear listeners, this is a Rainfall episode, not a Falcom episode, but I can tell you this now. There'll plenty to come in the near future, especially since there is, you know, a special time and place that is going to be the 25th anniversary of a certain series that I'm really looking forward to. And I definitely say we'll have Taylor back on for that. Dear. But anyway, any last thoughts before we create this to be a 6-hour podcast?
All I want to say is that, you know, for all the upcoming episodes, and there's nothing announced on second chapter, I will be mentioning this from time and time. Each episode at the end, I want it now.
I could do a progress, but that'd be spoiling it. I'll just say how many hours I'm into it, you know. But I'm pretty much like deep into Xenogears. But anyway, enough of that. Taylor, you know.
Last words?
Last words about the whole Rainfall thing, any of the games that we might have forgot to mention?
Last words. I like turtles. Yeah. Last words. Xenoblade's great. Last Story is great. I like it a little bit more. Pandora's Tower. But also, I wanted to thank you guys for having me on. It's always good to talk game stuff.
Shamelessly plug your channels and your workings, good stuff.
Let's see. YouTube channel, Muragaru553, Muragaru 553. I hope you all got that. And Power On Podcast. I mean, you can just easily put in YouTube, probably Power On Podcast, and find it quicker doing it that way. I'm on Twitter as well as Taylor. Wait, no, I'm on there as Taylor? You can find me. I'm somewhere lurking on Twitter. Find me. Find me! And yeah, and Facebook, there's a page for Power On Podcast. So if you're interested in that, check it out and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. Thanks again for having me on.
It's our pleasure. Yeah. I can tell you that now. We've got lots of episode planned in the future that you'd be able to lend your expertise and humor us crazy fools.
Entertain you.
Expertise, yes. We're experts. We're not crazy fools. Well, maybe I am. Anyway, we are rambling. We show that I can't end a podcast. So, with that, dear listeners, till next time. Alrighty, and we're back, and now we're going to talk about the last game of the Rainfall trilogy, and that is Pandora's Tower. Now, I've only played an hour of it, so Arrow, over to you.
Well, that's definitely a short introduction. I've heard you talk about Pandora's Tower. Pandora's Tower, of course, the final Operation Rainfall trilogy game, was released in April 2012, so last month. Of course, pre-ordered the game, and one thing that I did not do with this game is I did not look at any gameplay whatsoever. Just completely neglected this, and you know, with being a little bit disappointed by the last story, I was kind of hoping for Pandora's Tower being, you know, perhaps more enjoyable experience than, say, the last story, or perhaps even better than Xenoblade. So I pre-ordered it and put in my copy of the game and was excited to give it a go. And yeah, how can I describe this best? Yeah, it's really hard to explain this game because I feel honestly that this game has been mismarketed as an action RPG. Uh, this game is by far not a action RPG. If you want to turn this whole discussion into whether Zelda or not is an action RPG, Pandora's Tower is completely not an action RPG. This is more a action adventure game in the sense that it's more similar to God of War and Castlevania, the 3D games. 45 minutes to an hour and a half. It's just your typical action platformer. You gotta solve puzzles. You gotta work up higher. Each tower has its own locale. You have to fire, you have to water, you have to ice dungeon, stuff like that. And it's so bland and repetitive. And the only thing that keeps you going is you want to figure out what the story is. You want to feed Elena more flesh. You want to save her. You want to see the story come to a close. And that's honestly the only reason why I stuck in there. The game is honestly pretty short. It's the shortest of the entire Operation Rainfall. It took me about 16, 17 hours to beat this game, and I finished all the towers. You are even able to finish this game even shorter if you get one of the worst endings. I got pretty much one of the better endings, but the gameplay it's just really boring. And while it offers some unique type of Wii type of controls, is basically Aaron uses these chains to fight with, and you can hook on enemies, and you have to hook on certain parts of the bosses and stuff. But this type of genre is not my preferred style. While I really enjoy some action adventure games, especially Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2 on the Xbox 360, and there are quite a few more like No More Heroes and Mad World on the Wii as well. But this one felt so bland and so repetitive. It kind of, I just stuck in there, and I was doing two things at the time. I was playing the game, and while I was watching TV and sports matches and stuff. And once I finished it, that was it. It's by far beasts, of epic lore. And basically, what has happened? You have this hub area where Aaron has to go into one of the 13 towers and have to fight the end boss or the final boss of each tower, and basically get the flesh, the master flesh of each boss, and then basically bring it back to Elena and feed her this master flesh so she can get rid of the curse. Another character in this game is definitely my favorite character of this game. That's called Mavda. Once again, no idea how she's called in the Japanese version. She's the merchant.
She Guraya.
Okay, so they changed that one as well. And she's this. Yeah. It's probably, and also my favorite part of Pandora's Tower is her character. She's this old type of witch merchant type of character, but she carries this insane type of skeleton on her back, and and the best thing about her is this game is once again in complete English. There's no Japanese voice acting, but her voice acting was really well done. She has a very eerie, scary type of voice, and I kind of really enjoyed her character the most, and she kind of advises you throughout the game on where you need to go, and she sells you items, and you buy weapons and abilities from her and stuff. And so that's basically the hub area, and you go through each of the 13 towers. And where this game, in my opinion, completely falls flat on its face is the fact that you have to go through each tower. Each tower basically ranged between my weakest in the Operation Rainfall trilogy, and I felt really disappointed by it. And yeah, if you're a big fan of this type of genre, I know there are a lot of people who are really big into the action adventure, and you will definitely enjoy this game. But don't go into this game expecting it's Xenoblade or it's the last story. which have a whole different type of theme going on. But I've kind of been rambling on the entire game, and that's pretty much my review or just my thoughts on the game for a couple of minutes. But let's see, Taylor, I believe you've played the game for quite a while as well. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah. First, I wanted to say that it's Gurayai. That's her name. It's not Guraya. It's Gurayai. So it's a goofy name. So but yeah, like I remember somebody. I wish I could remember. I'm sorry, and if you do know who you are, which I hope you do, please tell me and internet slap me in the face or something. But somebody had sent me a link for it. I want to say it was Kuroi or somebody had sent me a link saying, hey, there's this new game coming out for the Wii in like a month that got like no attention whatsoever, and it just had kind of this like flash advertisement where it was you go to the site and there's just there's the picture of Celeste or Elena, and she's just kind of sitting there, and you're like, what the hell is this? Oh, Pandoras Tower. Okay, all right, cool.
the mysterious advertising technique, it kind of gripped me too. It's like, damn you, Nintendo, for gripping me without saying shit,
And I think that worked in its advantage because it got me to buy the game.
And Devil May Cry, then this game is ever getting near, an RPG. It has some RPG elements into this, where you collect different items and loot, and you kind of give these items to your. Let me give you the premise of the story. Basically, the premise of the story is you have our main guy who has once again been, I believe, renamed in Japanese. I believe his name in English is Aaron. Is this the same for Japan or not, Taylor?
No, his name is Ende.
Oh yeah. That's yeah.
That's more original. Ende. Is there many characters named that? No. What's
I
wrong
have
with
never
that?
heard anyone called Ende before. And the same goes for the girl. You have a girlfriend called Elena, and she is.
That's not the same either.
Here we go.
So Celeste, basically.
I'm sorry. There's only one Elena, and she's an open Folgana.
Yeah. Perhaps they wanted to, Final Fantasy VI and Celes, they wanted to get rid of the name, but yeah, it's strange, but I understand, these names were marketed a little bit more towards European names, Western names, but so we have Aaron and we have Elena, and they're basically on the run from this empire, or trying to hunt them down, and that's basically because Elena has this curse on her. She has this beast curse, where if it doesn't get treated, she will turn into one of the very dark and evil